Hey everybody, Insurancenick here. Today's episode we're going to talk about teenage drivers and why do they cost so much. Alright, Insurancenick here, and we're talking about teenage drivers, and some of the facts that you need to know before we get into just the cost of teenage drivers is just kind of, well, what's driving our cost today in our auto insurance? And it's medical coverage. Insurance companies will total out a car in a heartbeat. If there's any liability reasons or safety issues that are going to be damaged on the vehicle, they'll total it out to make sure that not just yourself behind the wheel, but those that, well, you may come encounter with are safe as well. So they'll total a car out to make sure that they're doing the right thing when it comes to everybody's safety. But you take that in consideration and you start looking at some of the statistics in the state of Michigan when it comes to our teenage drivers. Did you know that 1 out of every 5 teenage drivers are going to have a pretty significant accident? That's 20% when you're looking at the big numbers. And on top of the accidents that they have, 2/3 of teenage auto-related deaths, meaning that they're passengers in a vehicle, 2/3 of those individuals are actually driven by a teenage driver. And, you know, you start breaking the numbers down even further, 1/3 of those teenage deaths are really driven by speed. 2/3 is driven by distraction. So now you start to think about it. I'm 44 years old. They didn't have the internet when I was a kid. I know, that's shocking, right? But if you're in the same age bracket that I am, and you think back of the distractions that we had then, we may have had a tape deck that was in our vehicle. Yeah, you know, cassettes. And we popped them in the car, and we were distracted by changing the song on the radio or whatever. However, if you have a phone ring, vibrate, a Snapchat come in, a notification, Instagram, anything that comes through, kids today, and adults for that matter, because I drive around all the time in my truck and I can see people all day long looking to their left, looking down in their lap, they're looking up, they're not paying attention. And this distracted driving is a huge issue, and it doesn't matter what generation you're in, doesn't matter how old you are. If you look around and take a few minutes, you'll see people on the phone driving down the road every single day, and that's scary. Take that and couple that to the mind of a teenage driver who just may not know better, or they say they know better, but of course when we're talking about teenagers, we tend to challenge the envelope sometimes, right? So put this in perspective, and that's why teenage drivers cost us so much on our auto policies. There are a couple of things you can do when you're looking at setting things up. Just make sure that you're getting a vehicle that's up off the ground. What I'm talking about is if you're going to get a car for your child, get them into a Jeep product that's up off the ground. You get them into a Ford product up off the ground. And I'm talking about vehicles like Escapes, Edge, Jeep Liberty, the Jeep, the Patriot that's out there. That's not bad. But get them up off the ground in a vehicle that's a little safer and the point of impact would be less. Remember, this is all driven based on medical expenses. So imagine if you're driving down the road and you're going to have a head-on collision, unfortunately, unavoidable of course, but a head-on collision, which vehicle do you want to be in to where you sustain the least amount of medical damages? And in that case, that's the kind of vehicle to go to. So I hope you guys like this couple of minutes with Nick, and subscribe. Make sure you follow me. We've got a lot of content out there. There's a lot of good education stuff that we really do just want to help people understand. So thanks again. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon.